Hi, everybody. I'm Fawn,
And I'm Michelle.
and we're the co hosts of the Hard Won Wisdom podcast. And while you're getting to know all of those amazing women trailblazers on the podcast, at some point, you're going to want to know who we are. And so we thought we would tell you our story, which is that Michelle is one of my best friends, but I didn't meet her until 4 months ago
In person. In
in
person
person.
4 months ago.
But our friendship has lasted, get this, 17 years. Now,
I know it's hard to believe because we look so young.
that's right.
So young.
That's
You're
it.
fabulous.
But no, 17 years ago, we first connected because I bought a Dell computer that sucked. And this was a long time ago. And it was the first time I ever called for technical support. And somebody on the other side of the world tried to help me, and they couldn't speak very good English. And I kept calling and hitting the wall, and I was getting angrier and angrier because I had a lemon. And so it just so happened that I was the keynote for a tech conference, and the subject of the whole conference was offshore support. So I brought with me the letter that I had written to Michael Dell complaining about their terrible technical support, and I read it on stage. And what happened in the audience, Michelle?
Just first of all, let's just imagine this, right? My worst case nightmare. But yes, in the audience are some of my Dell colleagues. And
What was your job at Dell?
so I was responsible for customer escalation. So customer service, anyone that wrote Michael Dell or the board of directors or the Better Business Bureau. So I got the most escalated cases within my team.
And I was
and
escalating.
Guess who showed up? And guess who shows up there?
Yeah, escalation queen. So people are at the conference from Dell, and they reacted
just a little bit of concern. Because how many people were there? Like 1,000 IT execs?
Tons.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, just a million people were there. And they called and said,
they're like, we have a customer that you need to handle. She just got on stage, and she pretty much ripped us a new one with her letter, which was very gracefully written, because a little known fact about Fawn is she's really eloquent in how she can escalate to a company when she's mad. I have learned, but she ends up getting supported by someone from my team. At this point, I hadn't talked to her personally, but she's helped by someone from my team. And then it gets even better.
Yeah, because they give me a computer that's 10 times better than what I had, because they want me to shut up, right? So they get me this great computer, and their double top secret gold level support, where you only got domestic support. And so then I was really happy, and I had to write the guy's boss to say what a great job they had done and say thank you. And that turned out to be Michelle.
So but how often, but I have to say though, it was awesome, because how many times have I listened to someone who I know the team has done an amazing job, and they never turn back around and go to that level of effort to say thank you, and that this was a great recovery story. So hey, I thought that was pretty cool.
How many angry consumers have become your friends?
I have a few that
you do.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Nothing like this.
Right. No. So anyhow, we start this friendship, and it has built over the years through Skype and different mediums, Zoom, whatever. And we really got each other through a lot of things: a divorce on Michelle's end, the deaths of my parents on my end, and just really had this long friendship. And whenever I'd have a book coming out, as an author, you want Michelle on your side, because she's going to go to bat for you and promote, get all of her friends to help and write endorsements and everything. And about 4 years ago, I think it was, that Michelle said to me, I never figured out why you never did a podcast. And in my brain, I'm thinking, because it didn't sound fun to me. And truly, I don't like to do work that's not going to be really fun. And it sounded like something I'd be doing a ton of work that would be lonely work, getting it set up, doing the production and all of that. And right before my last book came out this past January, Michelle and I were doing a call, and we were having this great conversation. And I just thought, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me? And
Yes. Well, it was great because I literally pull out my vision board that I do once a year, and I point out and I say, I have a podcast that I want to do this year. So what do you want to talk about? Let's figure this out, because I would love to if we can make this work. And fortunately, we both wanted to talk about women and professional development and life and all the things from mom guilt to assault, to how to ask for a raise, to just all the things.
Meeting.
Yes, all the things.
And so
it was destined.
Yeah. And then I wanted to go with the format like I did in my earlier books, which is interviewing really great women trailblazers to find out what they learned the hard way, so that we don't have to hit our heads against the wall in order to learn that lesson ourselves. And that first book from 20 years ago, now I'm really dating myself, but that was called Hard-Won Wisdom. And that was my Oprah book. And I wanted to do the Hard-Won Wisdom podcast.
Well, there was no better title. I mean, we tried to come up with something different, but I kept going back and I just said, this is it. That's what it is.
Plus we had the domain. And so then it became much, much bigger as part of the Women's Leadership Network. And please visit womensleadershipnetwork.com, because that's the parent organization over our podcast, which is a member site that helps women who want more fulfillment, happiness, challenge, joy, all of that. And not because you want to get to the C-suite and that you want to run a company, although you're welcome to do that, but that you just want to be happier, maybe with work challenges, but it can just as much be that you want happiness in your relationship with others and with your relationship with yourself.
That's the big point, is the relationship that you have with yourself, which you probably have neglected all of these years because you've been taking care of everybody else, whether it's family or team members or your boss. It's always done for something else. And we have a lot of guilt when it comes down to stopping and trying to figure out, what is it that's going to make me happy and feel fulfilled? And this is a place where you get permission to go explore that.
Yeah, and a lot of inspiration and motivation and all of that. But really, I love this because I needed it. And I have to go back to my first career, which is I was an investigative reporter. And I did really well until I got this really bad boss hole. And this guy, he was such—
Did you say a boss hole?
I love that word.
It's the best word.
It's the best word. Everybody thinks I invented it. I didn't, but I use it all the time, because this guy sat me down one day and he said, "You think you're going to be a columnist? You're never going to be more than you are right now, a reporter." And
what's he doing now?
Yeah, I don't know, but things worked out really well. And for me, because, I did a typically female thing at that time, which is spend 2 years trying to figure out, what am I going to do to get this guy to respect and appreciate me? And after 2 years, I realized he was the problem. And so I took a job as an editor in Tampa and took all those skills that made me a really good investigative reporting, hard charging, no BS, get it done now. And I went into management and I sucked. Wait, somehow I've segued into my story, but I really sucked so bad. And I needed a book to tell me how to be effective as a strong woman in a male-dominated environment. And there was nothing for that.
Or they taught you how to, I remember reading the book, right, about how you needed to change your behaviors to act more like a man, which frankly, it just doesn't work so well.
Wait, I didn't write to do that though.
No, you did not. But I read plenty of those books early in my career.
Yeah,
right?
It's just, there are different rules of engagement and all of this stuff, but I had to learn what it took. And so I ended up writing these books. And really early on in it, a friend of mine asked me what my goal was. And it was to make sure that other women did not feel that horrible isolation and doubt and plunging self-esteem because I was alone in my desire to be strong, competent, effective, and that one human being should never hold the power over any other person's career. So I said, if one of me scared him, let's just make thousands of them. And
Best revenge ever.
yeah, I mean, well, the best revenge ever is any woman that has an experience like that and doesn't internalize that. And that's my goal, is to teach people with a lot of self-empowerment. So my story ended up great. I wrote this first book. It got rejected everywhere. I mean, everywhere, but I persevered. And my friends turned it into a bestseller. They bought lots of copies at the right time. And then I wrote my 29 letters to Oprah, and it became an Oprah book. But no career does this. It's never a straight shot up, and it always will do this. And I've learned that and had to teach many, many people how to deal with the highs and lows of their careers. And that's another thing I want to do, is give people the fortitude to fight the fight. So that's really the professional end. And then, the personal end, I'm so passionate on life balance. My mom, who was probably the best of all the trailblazers I ever met. Boy, she was so smart. She was such a great woman. And when she was just a little bit older than I am right now, she had a massive stroke and she was paralyzed for the rest of her life, and then got Alzheimer's. And I tell this story not because I want anybody to get bummed out, because I had time with my mom and a lot of joy and just intense love through that whole experience. And in some of our programs at the Women's Leadership Network, I'm going to talk about my theory of accept, cope, adapt, and how to be happy when you're in adversity and all of that. But the point of it was that impacted me, and I learned that life happens right now, and that we choose the lives we live. Obstacles are inevitable, but what we do with them and how we react to them is something we can control. And so that is my other passion, is making sure that other people, when they're going through tough times, have joy and happiness because they choose that no matter what. So that's the Fawn story. I live in Dunedin, Florida, with 2 awesome cats, a crazy dog, with lots of friends, single for the first time in many years, and really like living alone. Whoever thought that could be awesome? And passionate about kayaking, cycling, and I swim every day, and just living. Every day is something different for me. So I make sure that I never waste a sunset and that I just dive into the moment. So that's my story. Co-host.
You're a pro. You've got it dialed in terms of what that living looks like, right?
Well, you're no slouch at that yourself.
Well, it's probably like you've experienced, right? You don't start out that way. You start out trying to prove yourself or look in the mirror and have some type of self-respect. But it's hard, right? A little bit of my story. Grew up small town. My dad was retired out of the Navy, a little town of about 2,500 people. No one left, but everybody took care of each other. And I, on a bet, get a job for Dell, like a ridiculous bet at a happy hour, because my previous sort of career path was I was in the cosmetics industry, which I loved and envisioned that one day I would be in New York with my own cosmetic line at the time. But I end up at Dell on a bet, and I do pretty well in sales. And it was interesting because you talk about starting your career with imposter syndrome. I had it in spades. Small town girl walking into this high-tech company you had the multi-degree MBA from Harvard, MIT, highly educated people. And then here I was, hadn't finished college, and I was from a small town, and I sounded like a backwards hick. That was me. So I was out of my league trying to, or that's how I felt. But I am thankful that I had some incredible leaders that just kept throwing projects on me, and I was gritty and persevered, and I loved a good problem. And thankfully, my leader at that time, I remember he's still someone I'm so close to, but he pulled me aside and he's like, do you fail at anything? And I said, do I fail? I fail all the time. I felt like I was barely hanging on every day. And he's like, it's kind of funny, Michelle. I just keep throwing stuff at you and you somehow figure it out. And I said, well, I'm smart enough to know when I don't know the answer, I need to go find somebody else who does. And I think that's one of these challenges that we as women have. We sometimes feel like we just have to have it all together all the time. And then if we raise our hand and say, I need support or a little bit of help or guidance, we see that as a weakness. And I'm here to tell you that I think that's one of the greatest strengths that you can have as a woman and a leader and an example that you're setting for others, is know when to ask for help and do it proudly whenever you do. But my career has really been in corporate, 16 years at Dell, then went on to Citi, where I ran the customer experience and operations functions for all of the 4 COOs across North America and the business units. Left there and took a job running customer service support and customer experience for 7-Eleven for 2 years for the 11,000 retail stores in Canada and the US, and then took a turn and joined a software company, Medallia, where I am part of do consulting work. And it's just taking all of those years of experiences and helping someone else grow their program. But through that, a little bit more is being able to change industries, having the courage to say, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. I didn't go to these companies because I knew someone there. It was, I want a new challenge, and being able to lean into that. And I think that's part of what I like to talk about is how do you take risks and feel confident in your own ability to navigate. I know we've had speakers talk about remove your plan B. And I kind of am a firm believer in that. Remove your plan B because you're capable of a whole lot more than you realize. So I am a mom of 2 kids. I have a 22-year-old son and I have a 14-year-old daughter, and they're the loves of my life. And I live around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if the accent hadn't given that away yet. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, the thing about Michelle is she is ready for any new challenge, and she does not stay around and get bored ever. And so when she was at Dell, remember this, there was that moment when she described something new she was going to do, and there was this thing, social media, and I had just gotten on Facebook, but I didn't really understand it. And she said, there's all this conversation on the web, and you can use that to make the company stronger and blah, blah, blah. She'd tell me all this stuff, all excited. And I thought, oh, poor Michelle, she just got demoted. And what she was is one of the first to tie the potential of what was going on online between chats and social media and delivering more for customers and making the company stronger. And it's a great story. And the thing about Michelle that you're going to love over time is that she's so honest about her background. She's had hard knocks. She's been through a lot and she's honest about it. So neither of us likes to sugarcoat anything. We really want to get real. We want to hear from you all the time. We want you to feel that you can connect with us and with others through this network and be a stronger, happier self, that you make decisions that are going to make you bolder all of the time. And so we're really glad you're here with us. I want to show you this quick video because after 17 years, Michelle and I finally met. And so I got to share this. Let's see.
I love this. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Like a relative of mine.
But it was funny. So we finally meet in person, and I'm picking her up at the airport, and I think, oh, this is going to go one of two ways, because we were so deep into doing the podcast by that point. And can you imagine what would have happened if we'd gotten together and we didn't like each other? Because it's possible. I mean, here's the other thing. We are so different. Everything
Completely
that
different.
I'm, she's good at what I'm bad at, and vice versa, right? Our politics are completely different. She's much more tactful than I am, and she really tries to not bring it up. And y'all can probably guess who's who right on that. But
You're learning how to like not have the reaction and to go, oh, wait a second.
yeah, right. It's
this.
But we don't have to be exactly alike. And that sometimes our guests will get political, and I kind of gulp. It's like, yeah, we don't want that. This has to be your safe space. So thank you for joining us. More to come, people. And Michelle, I love you.
I love you. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye, everybody.